I am SA with the author Sesh Corner, and today I'm with co-host Wren Nightingale, and we are doing the author spotlight with Hex. Hello.
How are you today?
The last hour, I've been like, oh, I gotta clean my house. And I'm like, wait, Nicole, they're not going to see your house. They will see your face, and that's it. But it's been okay.
And you are an aspiring author. You have not published yet, right?
Right. Yep. Published date is going to be March 25th of this year. I'm self-pubbing through Amazon.
Oh,
That's
there we
exciting.
go.
I'm
Yeah.
nervous.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Okay. So, I have been working on this same universe for like the last 20 years. It started out as like a co-writing thing where like we were just in junior high and we were just, playing around writing that sort of thing. And then I took off with my characters and actually started doing something with them. And like I've tried working with other characters and doing other plot lines, and I somehow always end up circling back to the same core people. I'm like, oh, apparently you're supposed to have your story told, because otherwise you won't leave me alone. So we're gonna do that.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
What is
Core
the
grouping like Aubrey and Amelia. So.
Oh yeah. Do you have a title for your work in progress?
Yes. So this is The Hand of Fate, and then book 2 is going to be The Price of Power.
Ooh.
Yeah.
How did you choose your title, and does it hold significance?
The Hand of Fate, I guess, kind of came about of its own volition. So it kind of came about the same way that like the rest of my writing does, which is very intuitively. So I like don't plot anything out. As a matter of fact, if I know the ending of the story, I kind of lose interest and then I don't finish it. So The Hand of Fate felt right, I guess is the best way to say that. As far as like, does it have meaning? Yeah. So Ren has read the book, and unfortunately, I think for some of these characters, the hand that fate deals them is tragic, and that's, I guess, kind of the overarching thing is this is the hand that fate dealt you, and there's not really anything you can do to change it. I think one of the characters in particular suffers from this thing where there was never any other choice for them, like that their tragic ending was always written in the stars for them, and there was nothing they could have done to have changed it.
See, I try to do the whole don't plot thing for book 1 of my series, and I realized because I didn't write a whole lot of things down, I ended up contradicting myself a lot or forgetting things. So for book 2, I ended up being a plotter for it. I outlined, and then I outlined chapters, and I have gotten a lot of good feedback on how that book turned out compared to book 1. So I definitely, personally, I write better apparently outlining.
Yeah. Kind of doing that with like a little spin-off guy. And like I have all these plot points out. I'm like, that's cool. And then I started writing it and I'm like, guys, we're missing the plot points. We keep deviating. What are we doing? Why are we... There was a roadmap. Why are we ignoring it? And they're like, because we didn't want to do that. So sorry. You're along on our journey.
So I know that you said that there's you're writing the second book right now. Is it only going to be a 2-book series, or are you planning more in the future?
So for this particular one, it's feeling like it's going to be a duology. I initially wanted a trilogy, but I don't think that there's enough plot to make that 3rd book. I do still intend to hang out in the same universe and then just bounce from either Astoria, which is the country that the story is currently in, to somewhere like Raven's Reach, or just bouncing from different characters and different viewpoints. But I'm still going to hang out in the same universe. Just this series may be done after 2.
Okay.
That's fair. I mean, if you're going to build a whole world and stuff and you've been working on 20 years, right, I would hope you would branch off.
Oh, yeah.
What is the anticipated genre for your work in progress?
So this one is grimdark, or like a dark fantasy. Is frankly what they're all probably going to be. I don't write happy endings. I write tragedies.
People are into that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. When I was initially like doing or digging into like, hey, what genre does this technically count as? I'm like, yeah, it's high fantasy. And then I was looking, and I was like, no, no, it's not. Because there was this post I'd seen where they're like, I can tell you what type of fantasy you're in based on the ale in your story. And I was like, all right, try me. And they're like, does it taste like horse piss? And it's dark and gross. And I was like, yeah, yeah, I guess. And like, cool, grim dark. And I was like, oh, shut up. Don't call me out like that.
That's
Like,
interesting.
if it's high fantasy, it's like this bright, brilliant amber, and it's frothy and delicious. I'm like, yeah, a little bit, I guess, but not my stuff. My stuff's gross.
That's interesting. I never heard of that because for me personally, I don't like beer or ale, so I'm just like, for me, it's going to taste bad, so I'm going to put that in my writing.
Yeah, so I don't like beer either. I like mead. Mead's fantastic. I actually brew my own.
Ooh.
But I don't know, just everybody in taverns, they drink ale, and I'm like, ew, that's gross.
Exactly. So for the Hand of Fate, would you say it's a completed draft? I know I did beta-ing, but are you doing any more edits after betas?
So I currently have one more person who's reading it, and as he's reading it, I'm going through and like smoothing stuff out and finishing up anything like that. Most of his things have strictly just been comments about like, oh, this was kind of a short chapter, or oh, this is a long chapter. And then he got to one, he's like, thank God those two finally sorted themselves out. And I'm like, yep, I know where you're at. So yeah, for the most part, it's a completed draft. We're not really doing big edits anymore.
All right.
Is there a main point of view you prefer to write in?
This is going to be really biased. I love writing with Aubrey. Specifically because he's been my main character for like the last 20 years. Like he's where that started. He's ground zero for me. So I love writing with Aubrey. He is my prince. He is snarky and arrogant, and I enjoy him. In book 2, there's been a different perspective, and I don't really want to like give too much away because it takes points from book 1 and you see them in very different lights in book 2. But this other character has been remarkable to write with, where like he's sorry, trying to think about like how do you explain this without giving too much away. He is the embodiment of all violent deaths. So if somebody had their throat slit, his voice is raspy like air is escaping, or he sounds like he's, swallowing down salt water from maybe drowning, or like just the way that his body shifts and moves, like he is when he walks or shambles, I guess, it's the sound of bones breaking or flesh being dragged across stone. And like he's very visceral in that way, and I've enjoyed writing with him a lot. I'm like, you're so different from everybody else, because like the goddess in my book, Maeve, she's the goddess of the gentle death, the comforting death. She's the mother that opens the door at the end of your life and holds open her warm arms, and she's so excited to see you again and to hear your stories. And like she's very different from this other character where he's just not. That's not how life is. So mainly Aubrey, because again, he's my personal favorite. I have a t-shirt that says the Brat Prince of Stonebriar, and I wear that on the regular.
That's awesome.
I know
baby.
I know I personally read the story, but for the viewers out there, did you write your story in first person or third person?
So that was third person. And initially it started out where I was like, you know what? I'm going to write this kind of D&D-esque adventure, and it's going to be just for me. No one else is ever going to read it. It's not going to have any expectations to be anything. And I was cruising along with Reese and company, and that's where that started. Because I was like, I'll leave Aubrey alone for this time. And then he's like, no, you're not. Joke's on you. Of course I'm going to be in this. So, yeah, third person.
Oh, hold on. Something's in the way.
Okay.
What are your main characters' names, and how do you come up with your character names?
Okay. So I've mentioned a couple of them. So for Reese and his group of sellswords, it's Reese, Rochelle, Deloria, Salem, and Aspen. I like to collect names. So I used to do like the baby name book thing where I would just like flip open pages and be like, oh, I like that one. Or certain characters have a feel where you have an A in your name, which I've noticed that a lot of my character names have A's in them. And I'm like, oh, oopsies. Aubrey and Amelia, they just always were Aubrey and Amelia. No other name could possibly have fit them. And like, I don't necessarily come up with, like, I don't sit there and think about, okay, who should they be? What should their name be? Is I see them clearly in my head and I'm like, who are you? And they'll, like I said, it's very intuitive where it's, they kind of give like hints like, hey, yes, my name feels like this when you say it, or it has this letter in it, or this cadence when you say it out loud. So not really a whole lot of, oh, I want them to be named this. No, but just, they are that name.
Okay. So your character names, have you ever had to change a name, or have your characters' names been set the entire time?
The character names have been set essentially the entire time. The only one that I recently changed with this last person reading it was Jimothy. And he left a note. He's like, yeah, I kind of expected Jimothy's companions to be Drusif and Ronathan. He's like, that's not really a fantasy name. And I was like, no, that's fair. And so Jimothy came about as an inside joke. We were driving down to Tennessee, and my now ex-husband and I were like just cracking jokes along the way because it had been like a 9-hour drive. And we keep seeing these signs for bears and also rock avalanches. And he starts talking about this traveling companion that we had named Jimothy and how we got attacked by a bear-lanche, so an avalanche of bears, and that Jimothy sacrificed himself so that way we could get away. And I'm like, what? What is this? And I was at the scene where Jimothy is first introduced. And so I'm like, that's it, I'm using Jimothy as the name. And he goes, that's great and all, but Jimothy dies by bears. If you're going to use Jimothy, he dies via bears. And so Jimothy's name has changed. So maybe Jimothy does or does not die by bears anymore, I guess, because now his name is Lachlan.
You changed his name?
But everybody else has stayed the same. Nobody else has been.
No!
I like Lachlan.
My man. That's okay.
Oh, wait. That does remind me, because at one point somebody called him Jimmy, and now like I didn't think about it until just now. I have to go change that because they're gonna be like, hey, go get Jimmy, and like Lachlan shows up. Who the fuck is Jimmy?
Who the fuck's Jimmy?
Hold on.
Oh man. Oh, that's great.
Right, cool. I'm gonna go. Because I guess, spoiler alert, when Wren had read it, she got to the end, she goes, oh, that was a really like sudden kind of end for Jimothy. And I was like, yeah, inside joke. Well, now apparently Jimothy doesn't have to die via dire bear in a cave. Something else can happen to him.
Well, now I definitely have to reread it. That's a whole different thing.
Yeah, right.
Just right quick, I will be escaping for like 2 seconds.
Okay.
But you can continue on without me.
Okie dokie.
I just gotta do eye drops.
Okay.
And my son's bringing them down.
Okay.
My eyes really bothering me.
So I know you talked a little bit about your brat prince, Aubrey, and you talked about Jimothy, who's now Lachlan. Can you tell us a little bit more about your other main characters and your cast?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have fondly called them Reese and company, and that's Reese and his group of sellswords / rogues. So in my head, they are your stereotypical D&D group, right? So Reese is your human fighter. He's the only human in that group. Everybody else is some other like race type. So Reese is your human, and then his love interest is Rochelle. Rochelle is a full elf, and she's my rogue, who apparently, by the way, when somebody else is playing a rogue, because this is the guy who's currently reading it, he's like, she's a bit of a kleptomaniac. And I was like, no, she's a rogue. She does the pickpocketing stuff. And he goes, most people play rogues as like smugglers. And I was like, oh, well, no, she just likes the shiny things. So Rochelle is my elf rogue who apparently has crow-esque tendencies. Aspen is a shadeling, and that is a race that that I came up with. So his people supposedly are from Maeve's shade, so from the afterlife, and they were supposed to have been servants to her at one point. And he's really cool. So like his skin is like ashen gray, and he can actually pull the shadows to him, and they like cloud around him, kind of like smoke, and he can control them. And then you have Deloria, who is my harpy. So not harpy as in like she's got like bird-esque features aside from her wings. Like she's got regular feet. There's no beak. Because somebody else is like, every time I hear her name or I read about her, they're like, she's got a beak. And I was like, no, she doesn't. she got a people face. She only wings. So Deloria as my harpy is my oracle. She and Rochelle started off together as like not like a couple, but like they were running cons together where Deloria would pretend to do fortune telling while Rochelle was picking their pocket. And that's actually how they ran into Reese, as Reese was getting his fortune told by Deloria, and she tells him something about like, oh yeah, there's going to be much coin that flows into your palms, and she's like, but I didn't tell him that his coin was also flowing out of his pocket into Rochelle's hands. And then to wrap up Reese and company, I have Salem, who is the son of a nobleman. He went to a bardic school in Astoria, and he was supposed to go and like play music at another noble's home, and like that would be his job. But he's like, I would really rather play in taverns and stuff, so that's what he did. And then he has some feels for Miss Deloria, which is great, and stuff. That's a right, and stuff. And then you've got Amelia, who I feel like kind of wraps up the rest of like the major party. Amelia is Aubrey's shadow. So a shadow is a child that has been gifted by the people of Astoria to the royal family, and she is raised alongside Aubrey as his guard. Technically, a shadow does rank just as high as the royals do. You just aren't actually royalty. But Amelia is by far Aubrey's best friend. And also maybe sometimes his moral compass and the, hey, idiot, can we not do stupid stuff, please?
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's also, I guess, technically human. Well, I guess she and Aubrey are vampires. Like, they're human-coded, but vampire. Yeah.
I just have to say about Deloria, when I first read her, I did not imagine bird face. I did imagine normal face with just the wings. That's all I imagined. So I don't, I know you labeled her as harpy, but my brain was like, nah, she looks like a normal person.
Yeah, so the harpies in my universe, it's not that they're like bird featured, but they do have different type of bird wings. So like her sister Taylora, who you maybe see in book 2, I don't know yet. I thought so, but we're about 2/3 of the way through and I haven't seen her yet. Her wings look more hawk-esque, which I'm assuming she gets from her mom. I assume, because her mom did.
I assume. I'm the writer, but I assume.
One of the other things is that like when I'm writing, if one of the characters doesn't know something, me either, I don't know. And like I've had people be like, "Here, let me help you world build," and like ask questions. I'm like, listen, nobody on this side knows. They don't know, they don't care, which means I don't know. I probably care, but good luck getting that answer. And then like I'll be doing something, and I'm like, I've got a lore download. Somebody said something. Somebody like implied that this is a thing that's happened. I'm like, oh, how exciting! I suddenly know more about this world that I've been in for 20 years. That it's fine. I didn't need to know everything. Just give me those lore downloads every once in a while.
That's gotta be some other form of irony. I've never heard of that.
And then like, so Aubrey will drop things every once in a while where he's like, oh yeah, obviously this. I'm like, obviously this? Obviously? Oh, that's so sweet and cute. Because you know what obviously didn't, come across to me? That. It's been 20 years, bro. You could have said something well before now. Because now I need to go rework that detail in. And he's like, you didn't know? No, I didn't. I don't live there. You do.
What has been the hardest part of your work in progress so far?
Getting people to read it in a timely fashion. So I finished what I considered first draft, or I guess the first readable draft, probably about 3 years ago. And I was immediately like, oh, hey, look, friends, I did this thing. And they're like, yeah, I'll read this. And they were, they're really big into reading. So I was like, great, cool. And then I would check in like once a month. Hey, where are we at? How are we feeling? And silence. And I'm like, cool. And then by the time the next year rolled around, I was like, hey, I printed out like 6 copies. Is anybody reading this? And they're like, oh yeah, sorry, it wasn't really my bag. And I'm like, you waited a year to tell me that it wasn't your thing? I'm like, okay, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, I appreciate that you can be excited, but don't tell me you're gonna read it and then don't do it. Especially when I'm like, hey, this is now an actual project that I'm gonna try to do something with. But that's been the hardest part. The writing itself, I felt has been pretty easy. I will say writing book 2 has been significantly harder, just because like I'll have mentioned a character which I think offhandedly in book 1, and then book 2 comes around, they're like, oh hey, that person, they're actually kind of important, and you probably need to remember their name. And I'm like, cool, guess who didn't? I don't know who that is. So now I have to go back through book 1 and be like, hey, who are you? Sorry, I mentioned you literally once and never again, so I don't even know where to start looking for you.
What has been your favorite part about the writing process?
Experiencing the twists and turns with the characters. That's one of the parts that I like so much about the way that I write, is when something big happens, I'm right there first, like front row, getting to experience it with them. So in, like, for example, in book 2, Deloria's meeting a deity that I've never worked with. I don't know who that deity is. I don't know what it feels like to stand in their presence, and we get to do it at the exact same time. So I'm like, that's kind of fun. I like this a little bit. He's kind of intimidating, but I like it nonetheless, because it makes me feel like I'm actually legitimately part of the story. And I know that sounds so weird because I wrote it. I'm the person who, I guess, came up with it, but I like the front row seat of the twists and turns with them.
Do you have a character you're resonating with at all? Sorry. I'm like, wait a minute. I don't remember which one I crossed off. They start the same. They literally have the first 3 same words.
Characters that I'm resonating with, for me, it's always going to be Aubrey. And again, he is my brat prince, and I don't know if you guys do this as writers. Like, that character will sometimes just do like voiceover in your head, but there are times where we're just cruising and he's snarking about my day-to-day. I'm like, can you not, please? Like, I understand that this is a very muggle-esque world that I'm in, but I don't need your commentary over top of it. And he's like, oh, well, I wouldn't have done it that way. And I'm like, yeah, I know, thank you. But I resonate, I think, greatly with Aubrey, just because we have a very similar sense of humor. When it, like, I don't know that you ever really get his sense of humor in the books, but he just, that's my brat prince. And okay, one of my favorite lines, frankly, about Aubrey, and I say this to probably too many people, he is my favorite punching bag. He's so pretty when he suffers, and I enjoy tormenting him. So also that
Pain is bliss.
Yeah. In which case his life is blissful.
Do you have a character that you just don't like but is crucial to the storyline?
I don't like Walter. I don't like him. He's which is unfortunate, because Walter has good reasoning for what he does and why he does those things. It just but Walter's kind of a dick.
Really is. It's like, dude, chill.
I will say, so there's this scene where Walter's talking to Alan, and Okay, so at that point in time, we had been watching Spartacus. And in Spartacus, they have a very specific way in which they speak. And as I was writing it, I realized that the dialogue was kind of feeling very much like that. And I got called out on it by the ex-husband. He's like, all right, I hear you in there. And I was like, stop. It's like, I didn't tell anybody to fall from sight, I don't think. Like, maybe they're just really formal. And he goes, yeah, sure. Maybe they're really formal. But Walter, sometimes I feel like he's not mean enough, but other times I'm like, I don't want you to be a cartoon villain either, though.
I think he's mean to the right degree, especially with like what he's going through and like how he's getting to point A to point B. I think it's like the right amount of angst that he has going on for him.
Yeah.
But I did notice, like,
as long as he's not like waxing Louis.
Yeah, I did notice when you have him talking or when you have like the royalties talking or whatever, that the dialogue definitely changes. But I think it fits really well because nobles are trained, I guess, to talk that way, whereas the lower class, they're kind of just going off what, you know, they grew up with. So it makes a lot of sense, and I really liked the dialogue shift.
Yeah. Okay.
What scares you about being a writer and or publishing?
Oh, this is my personal private universe that has existed for 20 years. And publishing means sharing that with other people. And what if they don't like Aubrey? What if they're mean to him? Like, I get to be mean to him, but what if people out there don't like him? What if they say mean things about him? And I guess like that's kind of the thing is, this has been my entire life for 20 years. And what if other people don't like it? What if they say mean things? What if, you know, they're like, oh, this was boring, or you're a terrible writer. Cool, thanks for tearing apart the universe that I existed in for so long. Thank you.
I know you touched base a little bit on it, but do you use an outline or is it completely spontaneous writing?
Completely spontaneous. There were things that I knew before I ever touched pen to paper. Like I knew what happened to Salem. Salem was kind of like a hinge point of that's going to happen. But everything else is very spontaneous. And it feels very as if I'm living the story itself, not that I'm writing it. It almost kind of feels like I'm a historian, right? Instead of an author. I am retelling you the story that actually has already happened. And I'm just getting it firsthand from these characters.
How do you deal with writer's block and like how do you overcome it?
So far there hasn't really been a whole lot of writer's block to book one. And part of me is afraid that if I stop writing, because like that was a thing or some advice that I had heard that once you finish your draft, set it aside, don't look at it for months on end, and I'm like, well, hell no. Why? So I can just like stop that momentum? I don't think so. There have been scenes where I'm like, I don't know, like I know it has to happen. I don't know how we get from point A to point B. And frankly, I just keep plucking at it and picking at it because when I'm nervous, I pick at things and I'm like, great, I'll just pick this apart and see where that goes because I can't just leave it alone. If I leave it alone, it's almost like that muscle starts to atrophy, and I'm terrified that if I ever stop writing, that I won't be able to start back up again.
I feel that.
Yeah, I completely understand that.
But they do say when you complete something to walk away, even if it's just a few days. I think I stepped away from mine for about 2 to 3 weeks, and then I got really behind though. I took too much away from it.
When I did first finish it, I immediately jumped into book 2. So I was like, okay, I can walk away from it. That's great, but I have to have something else that I've started work on. Mm-hmm. And so that was my way of kind of avoiding any kind of writer's block. Was okay, cool, that's done for right now, but we're gonna hop back into book 2. The other thing too is that I will forget what's happened. So there have been some things where, as I'm working and editing and whatnot, I'm like, when did I write that? I don't remember writing that. I mean, I had to have, but I don't remember that. That's happened a lot with book 2. I haven't reread it in a while, so I'm like, what order is it in? Are you sure?
How do you deal with difficult or emotionally draining scenes in your work in progress?
Specifically in book 2, I came across a scene between Alexandre and his first wife, and that was, oh god, that was such an emotional slog. I kind of steep myself in their emotions and what they're going through, because I know that if I can feel that through writing it, that I can make the reader feel that too, and I want them to feel it. Like, I think one of my favorite things when I've read a book that has hit me hard emotionally is just sitting back and holding it and being like, everything hurts so bad, but oh man, I can't wait to do it again. I feel like maybe that makes me an emotional masochist. It's fine. But so going through those scenes on my own, yeah, I let it be emotionally draining. There's a character in book 1, and it's, again, she's a one-off character. You don't ever hear from her again, but she talks about something, like, she talks about her dad passing and how after he passed, she went through and she did a meditation to get herself into the shade so that way she could confront him, because he left her in a really emotionally raw spot. And that was me. I did that. When my dad passed, because I work with Hel, the Norse goddess of like the underworld sort of thing. I went into a meditation because I was livid. We did not have a good relationship, and I was really ready to go and tear somebody apart for it. And the character talks about how Maeve pulled her aside. She's like, listen, redemption and retribution is for the living, not for the dead. And you, frankly, don't belong here, so you gotta go. So I take a lot of like my own emotionally tumultuous events or situations and I put them into the characters. And that's a way, I think, for me to work through my own stuff. But also, again, I want that to kind of be heavy hitting for the reader. Like, I don't want you to walk away from my book being like, oh, okay, whatever. Which I think is why I allow the characters to go through such intense tragedies, such hard things. Like the scene with, spoiler, the scene with Rochelle and Reese where she's telling him, hey, we're pregnant. I've never had to do that for somebody, but I knew at that time with the person that I was with that if I ever had to tell him, that was going to be terrifying. That was going to be big bad time. So I kind of channeled that into that as well, and it made it emotionally rough. But on the other side of it, I'm like, all right, we're good. Go get a cup of coffee. Let's reground ourselves. It's okay. We can walk away from that scene and still be okay. We don't have to keep reliving it. It'll be fine.
What advice can you give to other aspiring authors like yourself?
Read widely, read outside of your genre. I know one of the things that people tell new authors is write what you know. That is not as limiting as you think it is. When we say write what you know, we mean take those experiences that you've had, your emotional experiences. Your characters may not go through the exact same thing. They're going to have that same emotion. They're going to experience that white hot blinding rage. They're going to experience that heaviness that comes from depression. They're going to experience that joy of feeling the first rays of spring sun on their skin. Use that. You know that. So write that. Put that into your work. It doesn't have to be, like I said, the same events. No, but that emotion, because emotion is human. So write the emotions that you know.
And that makes a lot of sense too. I personally haven't heard the write what you know, but when you're wording it like that, that does make a lot of sense how that would be phrased.
Mm-hmm.
How much time do you spend researching compared to writing?
I spend far more time writing than I do researching. So there was apparently, according to somebody else, like a 2-month time frame where all I did was research sword fighting. And like I got to the point where I was like, I need to sign up for sword fighting so I know what that feels like, so I know what it's like.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recall that being 2 months. I don't. I was like, maybe like a week, sure, but I'm still writing in the process. And I think with fantasy, it's a lot easier because you don't like, you can reference things, but what are you going to do? How are you going to fact check reality or fact check fantasy against reality? Like, you can't tell me how magic works because guess what? Magic's not real. Not here real. Not like that. Like, nobody's gonna put a hand over your gaping wound and seal it closed with magic here. So, I mean, yeah, far more writing than researching.
I mean, that's true.
Yeah.
Some people can only hope, though.
Yeah.
Right. Let me just call up Belle and be like, hey, Deloria, I've got like a whole list of people I need you to come hang out with.
Yeah. What does success mean to you as a writer?
That one's really hard because I suffer from imposter syndrome. So when I first finished that first draft, I guess I kind of expected to feel elated about it, and I didn't. And I was like, oh, that's not a big enough accomplishment to celebrate yet. When in fact it is. You wrote an entire book. Go celebrate. Do what you need to do. Like, that's a big deal. You put pen to paper for so long that you crafted a whole story with lives that feel real and a universe that, again, feels like you can step into it. Go fucking celebrate, damn it. So success for me is hard to put a pin in because I keep moving my own goalposts. Where I'm like, okay, you finished it, cool. Okay, now you need to edit it and make it actually good, and then move the goalpost from to you've edited it to hey, you've had this many people read it to hey, you published it. And like, even though my publish date is coming up in 2 months, I'm like, is that enough? Are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, no, at this point it has to be good enough. It has to be success that you published it. Maybe when I hold that book in my hand, I will feel the sense of accomplishment that I want. I'm not gonna hold my breath on it though.
What made you want to become a writer?
So storytelling has always kind of been in my own personal life. There's a story that gets told in my book fairly frequently, and it's called The Girl in the Glass Egg.
I'm not a fan of
and
that.
It's a story that my dad used to tell me as a kid. So storytelling has always kind of been ingrained into me because he loved telling stories. And like, his were also kind of on like the creepy side. So like, one of them he would tell was the story about a creature called the varmint. And he was telling me about how he'd be out dove hunting or squirrel hunting, and you could hear this thing rustling around in the bushes. And I've always loved storytelling. Like, I've been an avid reader my entire life. And that just kind of felt like the right thing to tell stories and to be one of those people that, you know, their blood runs as ink, and that just their life is the sound of pages rustling, and their home smells like leather-bound books. And I want to be that person.
Can you share a personal life experience that inspired a character or scene? So I know you already said some, but is there another one that you would like to add?
I mean, the ones that I've talked about, like with the priestess that tells Deloria about, hey, you know, I've experienced this personal thing here.
Was that her?
I think to a certain degree, Aubrey's search for his father's approval. Like I said, my dad and I didn't have a good relationship by any means. So that constant search for, I just want you to be proud of me and to say it out loud, you know? So I mean, I think maybe a little bit of that. Let me just flesh out my daddy issues. It's fine.
Hey, I mean, we have to have an outlet somewhere, right?
We sure do.
How do you approach dialogue? Do you have any tips on crafting authentic conversations?
So one of the things that I had heard was listen to actual dialogue, like while you're out and about. Eavesdrop feels a little invasive. The thing that I don't think my dialogue does is a thing that very authentic dialogue, like between people, does, where people repeat themselves. They have long pauses. They stutter, or they have certain words that they say on repeat, or like phrases that they say on repeat. Like one of the ladies that I work with, hers is and that. So sometimes at the end of her sentences, she'll just throw in and that, and I'm like, and that what? But as far as like dialogue goes, I think the biggest piece of advice that I personally like is characters don't say what they mean. Like if, for example, Salem wants to tell Deloria that he loves her, he's not going to say that directly. He's a coward. People at their very basis don't have, I think, the capability to be completely vulnerable and direct immediately. You will eventually get around to what you want to say, but it's not going to be right away. So I think, what was the actual advice? Go like 2 degrees away from what you actually want to say, and especially like in those vulnerable scenes, 2 degrees away, and then slowly trickle your way in.
Is there an interesting fact that you can share about your work in progress that someone would not know?
Ooh. I guess like it's not even really a secret, but they don't get good endings. And I kind of like that they don't. I like that the tragedies happen. And some people are like, oh, well, you know, life's already so hard and tragic. Yeah, but if I make the tragedies worse, your own don't look so bad, do they? I know that's a really... If you can live with these characters through their really rough patches, maybe the sun shines a little bit brighter for you afterwards, because the sun is still shining for you, where maybe for other characters it wasn't.
Yeah.
Have you decided on what your author name will be or is?
Yeah, it is going to be my actual name. So it's still going to be Nicole Swartz. That is maiden name, but I will eventually get back there at some point. So yeah, I initially thought back in my younger years about going with a pseudonym, and it would have been Erica Knight. But no, I think I'm going to stick with Nicole Swartz.
Okay. Is there anything else that you would like to add before we get to our final question?
Just I guess reiterating that publishing date on Amazon is March 25th. I have been working on getting like local author events. So I know that we're not all necessarily local to one another. Right now, the one and only one that I have actively set up is May 16th, I think. It should be May 16th, which is at my own local library. But yeah, just, hey, up and coming, stuff's happening. And I'm sorry that I don't post regularly on TikTok to keep you up to date with my stuff.
It's been a while for me. I don't really go on TikTok a whole lot anymore.
Yeah, same here. It's okay. But otherwise, where can people find you? So like Facebook, TikTok, Instagram.
Yeah. So I am on Facebook. It is my own personal Facebook. I am convincing_author on Instagram and also on TikTok. And then, hey, I'm also on Discord.
All right. Well, Essay, did we have any other extra questions to ask before we wrap it up?
I don't think so. And you're publishing on Amazon exclusively, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
As long as I figure out how to make the cover fit the way that I want it to. Yes.
I know, right? It's always the cover that's the problem. All right. Well, thank you everybody so much for watching and listening. We upload on YouTube and Spotify. You can find us at the author Sesh Corner. You can also please follow us on TikTok. We need to get to 100 followers to at least do lives there, and that way we can start doing more lives on that channel with Author Spotlight. Please leave a like, share, subscribe, do whatever you can, comment. But otherwise, we will see you guys next time. Our days kind of are off and on, they're varying, so I guess we'll just see you guys next time. Other than that, have a good one.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.